Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another series of webinar called A Word of Advice. This series is sponsored by Limitless. Today's episode title is Maximizing Your College Experience and Beyond. As usual, we will be taking questions from the audience all the way through the webinar. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. Without further ado, let me introduce you to this lovely group of professionals. With us today, moderating this session, is Hannat Al-Hinai, former geoscientist at Petroleum Development Oman.
Assalamu alaikum.
We also have Dr. Aisha Al-Busaidi, medical doctor specializing in ophthalmology at Sultan Qaboos University Hospital. We also have Sheikha Al-Mugheri, acting director of business development, Oman Convention and Exhibition Center. We also have Timothy Solomon, head of school at Our Planet International School.
Hi there.
And all the way from the United States of America, we have Badr Al-Lawati joining us today. He's a doctoral candidate of Informational System at DePaul University.
Hi, everybody.
And finally, we have Layan Al-Ma'wali, in-house legal counsel.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you all for being here today. I will turn over the mic to Hannat Al-Hinai, our moderator today.
Thank you, Hala, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to share with everyone some experiences that everyone here has.
Thank you.
All right, without further ado, let's go on. All right, everyone, I've got a couple of questions that our audience would like to get answers for, and I'm sure you'll be the good people to do that, to provide those answers. So question number one that I have is, what does a college experience entail?
If I can answer that,
Yeah, please.
to me, college was not about just getting a degree so you can make something out of your life. College is a time where you can learn about yourself, have different experiences, learn what are your goals, what are your passions, what are your aspirations. So my advice would always be try to experience different things. Question things, you can make mistakes, learn from them, open your mind to what's different. I mean, that's the whole point. So join societies, activities, clubs, volunteer, befriend people from different walks of life, different nationalities, immerse yourself in different cultures. I mean, there's a wealth of information and experiences that you can have at college, and it's the best time to do it. And this will help you actually have skills such as respecting people, communication skills, having an open mind, and learning about yourself so you can know how to advance your career and your personal life.
Great, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leon. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I agree, but I think the biggest thing for me that university does is it helps somebody grow from being a child or a young adult, we say, into being an adult who is responsible for themselves. And I think that's one of the biggest learning experiences of university, is learning how to discipline themselves, how to organize their own time, how to organize their own money, how to do their own laundry, how to organize their time spent at work in the university, I mean leisure. and all those sort of things. So I think it's that growth from being a child to an adult, which is the biggest thing for university. It's also, as Leah mentioned, that it's about trying new things. So going to cities, going into your museums, wherever you are, going to meet people, whatever it be, different cultures, that sort of thing. But that's all about growing. So I think it's a huge growth time, those 3 or 4 years.
Explore the country that you're in and the city that you're in. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And how do you balance play and working hard at university? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hard work that goes into college in general. In medical school, for instance, there's a certain expectation to work harder on average than most other students, which can lead to academic stress. So taking time off is important in order to have greater health, more stamina, and enthusiasm to resume work after play. But having the right balance is key to success in any college. Most important for balance to occur is to stay organized, perhaps by either having a planner, a whiteboard calendar, a calendar app on your phone, or even creating a simple to-do list where you enter all your tasks, your exam dates, your event dates, so you don't forget to get ample time to prepare for them. And then prioritize these things according to level of importance or urgency, or what needs to be handed in first. And lastly, although play is important, make sure it doesn't impact negatively on your health, on your emotional and physical well-being.
Okay.
That's my take on that.
That's very important point, the last one there. Yeah.
If I would re-emphasize the importance of keeping some free time, no matter how busy your schedule is, no matter how stressed you are by schoolwork, assignments, exams, whatever comes with going to college, always keep some time, if it's not every day, every other day, for fun. And only you as an individual, you know what is fun for you. So you don't get peer pressure just because your friends are doing a certain activity that they consider fun. It might not be the same fun that you decide is fun for you. So make sure that you decide what's fun for you and keep some time for that, where you can just forget about everything and just have some personal time for yourself to enjoy what you enjoy doing.
Thank you very much, Badr. Avoid peer pressure and don't think what other people or other students think is fun will be the same thing for you. Thank you so much, Badr. In your respective fields or organizations, what are the missing skills that one should get in college?
Well, I think in almost all fields, soft skills are extremely important for the working life. For example, how to present in front of people. So I'm sure in your last few years of school or beginning in university, you'll be in a lot of team activities and team groups. Don't be shy to lift your hand and be the one to present in front of people. Get that experience straight away, you know, from early on. Also, for the tourism and hospitality field, which I studied, you know, it's very important to have an extra language. So you should, you know, try and pick out a language that will be useful for the field that you're in. For example, in the tourism industry, look at the tourists that come to Oman. So they are from Germany, from France, from Switzerland. So look at those languages, you know, try to learn French or German. And this would be a huge tick in your CV and will get you ahead in your working life in the future.
Okay, fantastic. Anyone else would like to?
If I can add from the legal sector, I thought there were two things that could have helped me after I graduated, and those were practical skills. Law school was it was very academic, so there was a lot of reading. I thought that it would have been helpful had we learned practical skills such as drafting contracts, proper grammar, you know, where do you put the comma, where do you put the full stop? These all make a difference when you're interpreting things, and you don't realize this until later on. And like, how do you draft court submissions? How do you present? How do you public speak? How do you fact find, analyze? So all of these things, if you are going to be practicing law, if you start developing these skills in law school, it will make it a lot easier when you graduate and try to find a job. The other thing that I didn't really struggle with, but it would have been nice to know, was that there are different legal systems around the world. So I got a scholarship to study in Australia, which is a common law system, and Oman is a civil law system. I won't get into what the difference is, but like the role, the way law is developed is different in these systems. The way a lawyer acts and practices law is different. So had I understood the transition early on and the differences, it would have made the transition easier.
Right.
So, sorry, just to add, to help you make the transition, it's easier. It will help if you intern in local law firms, go to courts, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's very important.
Well, I was going to jump in from the teacher's perspective. I've been a principal now in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, as well as Muscat. And so I'm aware of what a teacher needs to work in the international schools here in the Middle East. But there are a couple of things, besides qualifications, there are a couple of things I think they need to look at. There are many different curriculums here in the Middle East. The IB, the UK curriculum, the US curriculum, and a few others in between as well. And if you're going to teach in the international circuit at all, you need to be aware of what those curriculums are. You may not have to be an expert in them, but you need to understand what they are, and that there's different ways of teaching in each system. It's not just a matter of standing up with the book. There's different ways and philosophies for each of these different curriculums. Something you also need, those soft skills that Sheikha was talking about. You need technology skills. You need to be able to use the smart board or something similar to it. You need to be able to use basic technology, especially in today when we're on online learning so much. So that's very important as well. But I also want to look at some other soft skills. You need to understand that teaching is not an easy job. It's a very rewarding job if you like kids, but it is time consuming and it is demanding. So it's not, you have to have a good work ethic to be a teacher. It's not a clock in, clock out job. It's a job that you want to do, and you do it for as long as it takes. You need to know how to act in a workplace, because you're in a workplace all day and you're being watched by children. So you need to know how to act in a workplace, how to be tolerant, how to answer people, how to question people, how to collaborate with people, how to take criticism. So working in a workplace is very important. And then also with kids, they're going to ask you the craziest questions. So you need a bit of general knowledge, not just your math, but you might need other questions to answer as well. So you need some general knowledge. So, you know, read a paper, watch the news, talk to friends, talk to people around the world if you can, and get that knowledge.
Thank you so much, Tim. Yeah.
Just to add, as a parent with COVID, now we're doing online, I have great respect for teachers and the patience that they need. And it's an amazing job, but requires a lot of patience and love for children.
Yeah.
So,
and we all realize that with the COVID, the coming of the COVID. Thank you so much, Leanne, for that point. Yeah. Anyone else would like to add to this?
Continuing along the lines of COVID, in view of medical professionals such as myself practicing medicine at this current time, frontline health workers, as we know, work hours on end to a point of extreme strain and exhaustion. So naturally, medical students who are the future health professionals could theoretically be the most appropriate to come forward should the need arise for more healthcare workers. So this highlights the need for skills to be introduced earlier on in training, such as pandemic preparedness, emergency disaster management, to just ready students for action during a crisis, teaching them how to be resilient, helping them really transition from just being a student to the real world doctor, providing them with the emotional and mental skills to cope with such a crisis. And these exercises can very well be embedded in the currently existing public health modules that are taught around the world in medical school curriculum. So things such as that as well as adding on the importance of time management skills, even money and financial management skills that should be introduced, I think, earlier on in order to serve us well as we practice.
Wow. Somebody who hears that says, what is the relationship between money management and being a doctor? Maybe you might want to explain a little bit of that, Aisha.
Sure. So you'll be surprised. It's useful in any medical practice, whether you work in the public health sector or in a private practice, having your own office, having your own clinic. In today's healthcare environment, there's a lot that goes in overseeing equipment, instruments, consumables, especially in financial crunch nowadays. You really want to streamline your resources, knowing how to work them efficiently in order to enhance your working environment and your organization. So they a lot of time ask us as doctors to formulate a budget sheet, and I think these things are important to kind of have introduced earlier on. So that would be
thank you so much for that, Aisha.
But I think that skill you need it for any profession and in your life generally. So it needs to be introduced in a curriculum early on.
I agree. Yeah.
So if I would add something from my field, which is the field of computer science, information technology, and like other fields where they study existing knowledge, most of what we study is something new, something that's still being developed. Just because we work in a very fast moving world that's based on technology, things move much more quickly. So when you think about a degree in information technology or computer science, you should not think about what's needed now as much as what will be needed another 4 or 5 years once you graduate. Because what's needed now might not be needed in another 4 or 5 years. Think about programmers, people who write code and people who do the coding. A big portion of what used to be coded manually by individuals 10 or 15 years ago is done automatically through machine learning algorithms without the need for human interference. So what was needed maybe 10 years ago is no longer needed. So you should always keep an eye on the future. What are the newest technologies that are being developed as we speak right now? And think about mastering them or becoming specialized in one of them, rather than doing something that has already been going on or that's being taught for the past 15 or 20 years.
And how can somebody keep updated on that, Badr, if you may?
It's just general knowledge. It's just reading. If you are interested in information technology, you'll definitely find the resources online. Just by reading blogs, you will get an idea about what's the interesting thing that people are working on right now, what is being developed right now, rather than looking at what has been done a decade ago.
Okay, thank you so much. And how does one stay motivated in university or college?
So that's a very good question, Ustadha Hannat. Because doing a medical degree is a lifetime commitment and a lengthy journey, where undergraduate school typically takes 6 to 7 years just to complete that undergraduate training and obtain a medical doctor degree. So this journey, as any other journey, especially with the length of time, is full of high times and low times, where you might ask yourself, what on earth am I doing here? Why am I doing medicine? Why don't I do something a bit more less challenging or shorter in duration? So motivation here is everything. It can come from many different sources, either from within you internally or externally from your background, your experiences, the role models you admire, and is very person specific. So you have to find really what motivates you and find it, hang on to it, and remind yourself of it, whether it is seeing your parents proud of you or feeling the reward of just saving lives and keeping patients healthy and happy. Is it the fame? Is it the prestige? Is it the money that comes with a profession? Whatever motivator it may be, just remind yourself of that and keep going and saying it's worth it all. All the sacrifices along the way will be worth it.
That's beautiful.
If I add one tiny thing on what Dr. Aisha has said, is the goal that brought you here. Why are you here? Is it to play? Is it to have fun? Or is it to learn something and leave university with a degree? Reminding yourself of this goal, this ultimate goal, no matter how big or small it is, can keep you motivated.
Badr, I'm sorry, Badr, but we lose your voice a little bit sometimes.
I'm sorry.
Could you just come closer?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said if we add one tiny thing is just keeping in mind the goal that brought you here. Are you here to have fun, play, or are you here to earn a degree? Reminding yourself for this ultimate goal, no matter if it's big goal or a small goal, just reminding yourself that you're here for this goal can keep you self-motivated in addition to the external motivation that you can get.
I really like that internal self-motivation, in addition to what you may get externally. Thank you very much for that. What are the minimum requirements needed to land a job in your profession or in your field that the students need to learn at college or university?
Well, again, going back to tourism management, but I guess also for all fields, I cannot stress enough how important internships are. I highly recommend for students to the opportunity of taking an internship. So for example, in the tourism that is entitled to internships. So I'm sorry, my internet might be a bit low, but I hope you all can hear me.
We can, yeah, please go ahead, yeah.
So sorry about that. And yeah, so it's that important that it's part of the curriculum of what we were studying. And it also helps you to—
Sorry, just to recap on that, sorry, Sheikha, just to recap on that particular point that you just said before your internet glitch. You were saying that the importance of the internship, you cannot stress enough how important the internship is for your field. So
yes,
just recapping on that one. Yeah.
You know, because you can also decide which direction that you want to go into. So for the tourism field, you have so many options from hotels to Ministry of Tourism, the Convention Center, tourism office. So if you're able to even do 1 week in each of these companies or organizations, you can later on in your life decide what you really like and what you would like to go into and focus on. So yeah, so I highly recommend for students to look into internships during their summer breaks or any holidays that they have. And this will help with their time management, you know, how to work out, working 9 to 5, and learning to time manage themselves.
And does the college or university here help students to find internship opportunities or to get internship opportunities? Are you aware of any of this?
Yes, they definitely do. They can write a letter of recommendation and help you try and get a job or try to get an internship. So that way it's much easier through the colleges.
And do you have to ask for that, or they will, it's part of the curriculum that they do that, to write a letter, to give you to submit to an organization for an internship? Do you have to request?
No, so if you can, it can be part of the curriculum. It depends on the university. So I studied here in the Oman Tourism College, and it was part of the curriculum. But also you can ask for a letter, which I'm sure they would not deny.
Right. Thank you. Okay.
I was going to talk a little bit about being a teacher in Oman and in international schools. Teachers in local schools in Oman do need an education degree, and then they need a regular degree and then an extra year of education certificates. I'm not sure exactly what they're called here, but it's like a postgraduate certificate in education, we call it in England. But even here in Oman, yes, the teachers need to have a degree and then the education certificate. I believe there is an education degree you can do instead. International teachers coming into the country do need that education degree or a degree in education certificate and 2 or 3 years experience. And I say that because this is my 8th country I've been in education with. And if students want to be a teacher, it's fantastic because you can get to travel the world and teach in different schools, different countries if you want to. Or you can stay at home and teach at home and be a fantastic addition to the workforce here in teaching in Oman. But I would say a minimum requirement is not just education, it's also a love of kids. You've got to like kids. You know, it's the worst thing to have a teacher who's teaching there who doesn't like kids. It's just the worst. So know you like kids. And by that, yes, and by that I mean do something. Do an internship, as Sheikha said. Do an internship if you can. Go into school and talk to the headmaster or the principal and say, can I spend a week with your math teacher or with your primary school teacher? Go and work at a summer camp somewhere. That's where I realized how much I love kids, when I worked at a summer camp. And that's where I learned a lot about how to deal with kids. But you've got to have those sort of experiences. Working with kids every day is an incredibly rewarding experience, and it's a wonderful life. But it is a life choice. It's definitely a life choice. It's not something you do just because, but when you do it, it's fantastic. So I definitely tell people, get out there, see if you like kids, and if you do, become a teacher.
Thank you so much for that, Tim. Anybody else? Yeah.
I'll speak briefly again of what I know, which is the legal sector. It really depends when you decide to study law, what do you want to do? Do you want to teach law and research, or do you want to practice law? Okay. If you want to teach and research, then maybe in addition to your degree, you'll think about doing your master's or your PhD. But if you're going to practice law, then perhaps other certificates might help you more in practicing. So in other jurisdictions, if you're traveling abroad to study law, then you might think of doing something called the legal practice course. And that is depending on where you are, it might be a year or 2 years. And it basically gives you practical skills that you need to practice law. So the examples I gave earlier of drafting contracts, submissions, and going to court and things like that, those are the things they actually teach you: how to negotiate, how to, agree to disagree. So how do you respect your opponent? So that is very helpful and can give you a competitive advantage when you come back to Oman and decide to practice law and apply to a law firm. It is recognized. Now, if you want to practice in Oman and go to court, then you would need to register with a local firm, not an international firm, a local firm for 2 years, or if you have your master's, then 1 year, and that will allow you to actually go to court. And then if you want to go to higher court, then you need a minimum number of years. So let's say the primary court is 2 years, the Supreme Court is 7 years experience, and that's how it works. But I wish somebody told me that I had to work in a local firm to be recognized for my legal experience and being able to go to court. So I hope somebody benefits from that, yeah.
You didn't get that advice?
No,
before.
Because I was fortunate enough to get recruited into an English firm, an English international firm, which gave me an amazing range of expertise, like in different fields. But unfortunately, I spent almost 5 years there, and it's not recognized as legal experience that enables me to go to court. So.
Wow. Is it because just because you don't have that certificate that you mentioned earlier? Is that the reason, or because you didn't do any experience here in Oman with a legal firm?
No, it just needs to be a local firm.
It has to be a
firm
local firm
established by Omanis, yes. And then you have to get some certain examples of your work for the 2 years, and then you submit it, and that's basically it.
Okay, kids, do you hear this? Learn from this. Something for you, for your future, inshallah. Okay. Thanks, Layan, for that. Thank you. Okay. So for students who are studying in local institutions, how may they maximize their experience? their college experience and university experience?
So I think this is an appropriate question for myself, since I was fortunate enough to do my undergrad medical degree here locally at Sultan Qaboos University. And I must say it was a wonderful experience. I was very comfortable living at home in my usual setup, commuting easily back and forth to university, having the support and surrounded by the people I love, obviously my family. But what you need to get is some international experience at some point, be it in the form, as was mentioned earlier, internships, exchange programs. It just tends to stand out on your CV for anything else, like for a job interview and so forth. And you get to connect and network with international faculty through collaborative research or through joint projects. All this obviously gives you opportunity to see what's done outside and kind of expand your horizon and keeping up to date with the advances that are available outside your country. And all of this you need to do while trying your best to become independent. And this may be difficult, especially if you're above the age of 18, living under one roof as your parents. But you have to try to be independent in some areas at least. So financially independent is one example where you can have your own bank account, pay your own bills, so forth, do your own laundry, do your own cooking, and expand your circle of friends to not just include family and cousins, but actually, and not just friends from school, but actually friends from, this walk of life, like in your college time. And this way you can maximize your education experience while staying locally and in the comfort of your similar environment.
Okay, great.
Well, Estelle Hannett, you actually touched on it earlier. Studying in local universities, that would, you'd get a lot more help with regards to internships, like Aisha had mentioned earlier. And of course, having the support system, of your family and your friends and being home gives you the opportunity to do a lot more than probably that you can do if you were abroad. So a lot of extracurricular activities. You go out and explore Amman and just enjoy being home until one day maybe you might be able to go abroad as well.
That's fantastic. You can travel more because everything is done.
Yes.
Yeah. You can enjoy your breaks more here, your summer breaks and the rest of it. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, we've got a question from the audience here. The question says, how do you deal with the loss of opportunity? Who would like to take that one? How do you deal with the loss of opportunity?
Yeah, so I think the person who asked the question.
Yeah. Okay. Better than Tim, please go ahead.
Okay. So I think the person who asked the question added more details. He said, imagine you're on the line of earning a job or a scholarship that is such an incredible opportunity, but you keep getting rejected over and over again. How can that not let the sadness consume you? So I personally went through this when I was applying for the PhD programs 6-7 years ago. I wanted to go to a tier 1 university, like one of the top universities in the world. And I kept on applying to all those highly ranked universities like Oxford University, MIT, Harvard, Princeton. And I kept on getting rejected from every one of them. So I took a moment to evaluate the whole thing. And I looked at my grades in my previous degree, and they were not very high. And then many of the postgraduate programs would require you to take some kind of skill set exams. And also my grades were not very high. And I started looking at their acceptance of what grades in those exams and the previous degrees they would look at. And they take the top 0.5%. And unfortunately, I was not. So I reevaluated my situation and I decided, you know what? Maybe I cannot study at this universities just because right now I don't have what it takes. Reevaluated my situation and I decided to apply for a tier 2 universities, which are still highly ranked universities. They're just not the top 10. They're still accredited by the Ministry of Higher Education in Oman. They're still very good universities, but they're just not the top because I don't have what it takes. And guess what? 2 months later, I get 2 acceptance letters from 2 different universities, and I get to pick one of them. So it's just reevaluating what do you have. There is no shame of understanding and estimating what you are. You don't underestimate yourself, but you also do not overestimate yourself.
Wow, okay.
That's my take on it. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Badr. Tim, you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, I was going to just, but I will say.
Okay, the internet.
The thing to do if you're going to try and keep getting. Hello.
Yeah, but you're frozen.
Yes?
You're frozen, Tim.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you are. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What I was saying is that don't give up. Keep trying, but also do exactly what Badr said. Refocus, maybe. I remember when I was applying for jobs a few years back, I kept on getting rejections. So I had somebody look at my CV, had somebody look at my cover letter, and had somebody actually evaluate me and tell me this is what you're doing wrong, or this is what you're better at, or this is what you should be going for. And I changed my approach. And lo and behold, I got a couple of jobs because that's what you have to do. So I agree with Badr. Refocus if need be. Don't give up, just refocus. But if you'll keep on getting rejected, don't do the same thing time and time again. Reflect a little bit and go, oh, okay, well, maybe my cover letter's too long. Maybe my CV doesn't have the right focus, whatever it be, and make a change to make it happen.
I think that your answers, both Badr and Tim, fit very well with the question another question that came, which says, sure, so imagine you are on the line of earning a job or a scholarship that is such an incredible opportunity, but you keep getting rejected over and over again. How can you not let the sadness consume you? So that's staying motivated again, and Badr and both team you have already answered that. Thank you so much.
Can I just add one thing? And I know this is may sound wishy-washy, but really, I believe that things will come to you when the time is right. And sometimes you might get rejected because a better opportunity is coming your way. So you need to be resilient. You need to be resilient, you need to be hopeful, and you need to keep working on yourself. And like they said, reflect, but trust your timing. Some things you really want, but it's not for you.
It's not the right time.
Something better, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a very positive way of looking at it. I wish we all always remember to do that. Yeah, in all situations. Yeah. Okay, and so what advice then would you give students considering going or taking postgraduate degree directly after the undergraduate degree?
So I think for doctors in general, obtaining a medical degree is just the start of their journey. You usually have to do an internship for about a year, and then if the opportunity arises, you go straight up and do your specialization. So in my case, it was ophthalmology, which is learning to be an eye surgeon, but there are many other fields you can choose to pursue and specialize in after obtaining your medical degree. And doctors, probably unlike other professions, tend to like to pursue this postgraduate degree called residency training right after their college experience. So if they're given an opportunity to do so, either through scholarship or on their own funds. Just because you spent a large chunk of your time being a medical student. So you believe, obviously, the sooner you start, the sooner you'll finish. And this will lessen the negative effect of prolonged study has on your personal life. So, and your earning history, of course. So you'll also have the momentum that you had during college days to actually help you with pursuing postgraduate education right after. But I would say some people prefer not to do that. And in general settings, there are benefits and downsides of each. It is really situational, depending on whether you know your goals, whether you've planned ahead of time for it, Did you watch out for all those programs that you aspire to attend to? Did you meet their deadlines? Do you have your references in check? Did you possibly want to arrange an elective or two at areas that you want to strengthen your candidacy with? But on the other hand, you may not be ready, either academically, professionally, or even financially to go for it. You may want to start a family beforehand to provide you with a support system that you feel, you know, you need. Or you might view family as a distraction and want to delay that, but, you know, pursue that anyway. So the best advice is whenever you think you are ready or you know you're ready, go for it at that point.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
My take on this, simply don't. Just because what you do at the university is basically learning and acquiring the skill sets. But you don't get to practice it and prove it until you start working. The employer doesn't know that you have anything beyond the know-how of the skill set. When you go to the workplace, when you work in the industry for a few years, you get to practice the skill set that you acquired through your college degree. If you end up doing degrees back to back, in the eyes of the employer, you're simply getting more skill sets, but you never got to prove how you use those skill sets. So unless you want to stay in academia and teach those skill sets, then do degrees back to back without any industry experience, because you definitely need to know all the knowledge that you can give back once you become a professor. But if you're a person who wants to practice what you learn at the university, you need to practice it for a few years. Basically prove to the employer that you got the know-hows from the university and now you're practicing, you're doing it. And you never know, maybe after working for a few years, you realize that this is not the field you want to stay in, and maybe you want to switch gears towards another field. And that's when a postgraduate degree can come in, where you can get a different kind of skill set from what you have acquired in your undergrad. So my suggestion and my advice to everybody, because I went through the same thing. After my undergrad, I worked for a few years, and then I was like, you know what, I want to pursue a master's degree. I went and I got my master's, and I went back to the industry, worked for a few years, and I was like, you know what, I have an idea, I want to research it, and I went back to school to do my PhD. But if I've done it back to back without getting any chance to practice it, I don't think I would have gone this far.
Oh, thank you for that view. That's a different view that you have, Badr, based on your experience in your field. Thank you so much. And I'm sure so many people pursue that opinion as well, that path, while the other people would prefer to go ahead directly after undergraduate. Yes, Tim, you wanted to say something?
I was going to say in teaching, I personally believe that a teacher is best to teach before they do a master's. I think if you want to do a master's in teaching, you need to understand what teaching is. You need to understand what a classroom is. So when you do a master's in teaching, you've got some experience to draw on and to use in that degree, in that master's degree. I've always liked teachers who've done a degree, maybe gone off and done a bit of work somewhere, and then done a postgraduate and come back into teaching, because they tend to really want to be teachers. But I honestly believe you need to teach first before you do a master's. I'll always take teachers with experience over teachers with just a degree, a master's and a PhD. That doesn't prove anything to me as a teacher. That proves they've got the academics, but not the skills to teach. I need people who've got the experience in the classroom and have shown that and got the reference to go along with that, you know. I went straight from high school to college to teaching. Well, that turned out pretty well, you know, but it'd be great if I'd done something else in there. I did a few little jobs along the way. I believe that experience counts far more than actual education. Most of the places in teaching. There are a few countries where you need a master's degree to teach, but most of them it's experience gets you the job.
Thank you, Tim. And I see that we have another question here from the audience. How would you deal with the exam anxiety? Yeah, anybody?
Well,
will that take that one?
I'll take a little bit of that one, being a teacher.
Okay.
We're the ones that set the exams, so we understand there's anxiety there. One of the things in different curriculums have different ways of assessing as well, so that's a difficult one as well, because in the IB we only do exams in the last few years of the program. The rest of the time is more assessment of learning and assessment of gaining objectives, as opposed to a test where you to me, a test tends to just assess your memory skills as opposed to your understanding skills. So I think the best way for me to break a test anxiety is to understand the content. Instead of trying to learn answers, understand the content. Because then whatever the question is, you'll be able to answer it. Whereas if you're trying to memorize particular answers and you don't get those answers in the test, you're done. Whereas if you understand the concepts, when you get in there, you can answer any question they throw at you with that concept. So that's one way. The other thing I'd say is, we tell this to our kids every time they do any sort of test or exam, is get a good night's sleep, get a good breakfast, drink water, be healthy, ready for exams. And staying up all night the night before an exam is not the way to pass it. It's the way to get anxious about it. You need to start ahead of time and be ready rather than do that. But those are that's a couple of things I would say is from a teaching perception.
Well, good. Glad that we have somebody from the education side here. Anybody else from your personal experiences? How did you deal with exam anxiety?
I was fortunate enough not to suffer extreme anxiety, but I had friends who used to not be able to sleep, not be able to do anything. They would prepare so well, but once they go into the exam, they forget everything. And the way that they dealt with it is through meditation. I don't know if that is an effective way, but it helped them understand their own anxiety. And also, sometimes in your head, you exaggerate things. I mean, what is the worst that can happen? It is an exam. It's not life or death. And if you trust yourself, you trust your process, that you've done what you need to do, you've prepared, meditate, pray. I think those things can help you just calm yourself down. And it's natural to feel nervous. It's very natural.
Especially when it comes to the Thanawi or something like that, you know, the finals or something. Yeah, Doctora?
Yeah, I agree with Leanne and Tim, very well answered. You know, a certain level of anxiety is needed for sure in order to enhance performance. I think that's but as long as it doesn't.
Do you hear that? A little level of anxiety is needed for you to enhance your performance. So don't be worried if you're anxious about it.
Just a teeny weeny bit.
Little bit of it. Yeah. Okay.
As long as you said it doesn't go overboard, like Leanne had said, you know, it doesn't impact your sleep, your performance, then that's fine. Some people, believe it or not, get medicated before they go in for an exam. I know people who took a beta blocker, which is a drug that actually lowers your heart rate and blood pressure in order just to be a bit calm. But definitely I wouldn't recommend that. There's no need to go overboard. If you prepare ahead of time and you have a good night's sleep the night before, you don't pull an all-nighter, and you are able to, you know, read, eat well in the morning, you know, don't do any last-minute reading. Just be calm and remind yourself that, as you said, that you've tried everything and you've done your best. The rest is left, you know, to God to shapen it for you, and everything is already written. We just walk the path of faith.
Jazakumullah khair. Okay, I've got another question here. What would you say is more important, the academics or the college life experience?
Experience, maybe.
Experience, sorry, yeah.
I think it's both.
What is that?
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
So the college experience is an experience. It's just not pursuing a degree and leaving. As Leanne mentioned, as Aisha mentioned, as Tim mentioned, it's everything that comes with the whole experience. So you get to explore different cultures. You meet people from different backgrounds. You get to interact with people from even different nations, different languages, different ways of thinking. People even from different religions who do not pray to the same God you pray to. And that's for me, that's the most wonderful thing in it. It's you don't just learn book and assignments and exams and a classroom. You learn everything else in life. Tim mentioned something very important. It's that period where you grow from a young adult to an adult, where you take full responsibility of everything. You get to decide how you want to live this life. And this college experience, not just the academics part of it, but the whole experience as a whole, is what basically makes you grow from a young adult to an adult.
Okay, great. I see two questions here as well. One, it says, have you ever dealt with uncertainty or self-doubt after deciding your major field of work? If so, how have you handled and overcome it? Uncertainty and or doubt after deciding your major or field of work.
I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted to be in high school, even in ثانوية عامة. I mean, I applied for every degree under the sun to different universities around the world. You know, I went from dentistry, medicine, what is it called? What is that? Detective work, law, like different things that, and I said I needed to keep my options open, because you know, at the last minute, if I do decide to do something, I wanted to have the option to go to university. But after a while, I started doing, we had in school, we had something called life skills. At least we were fortunate enough to have life skills. And they used to bring people from different professions, and you had access to these people. You can go ask them. So I went and I sat with one of the Omani partners in an international firm, and I went and I sat with him one evening and I spoke to him. I just wanted to get a better understanding of what being a lawyer means, rather than just what you see on TV. At that time, we had a show called Ally McBeal and Law and Order and things like that, and it looked very exciting. So I'm like, yeah, I want to do that, but then it rarely is that. So I just wanted to make sure, okay, let me go speak to people who are actually working in these areas and see, do I connect to them? Does it sound like something interesting? And I did that, and I was inspired after talking to the lawyer.
Very good.
And I thought, yes, you know, that is something I would love to do. And thank God I have not regretted it after.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So,
you know, can I just add a little thing there? I remember when I was in college, I think it was, or maybe first started teaching. I remember there was some stats came out, and that it used to be that people would do one job, maybe two jobs their whole life. And then the last 20 years, 10 years, people tend to do 3 or 4 different jobs, maybe even more, because the whole employment area, job areas changed over the last 20 years. And even for the next 20 years, some of the jobs that are going to be available, we don't know what they are yet. Whereas, you know, my dad's age, my dad's even maybe a little bit after that, people just did one job for the whole life, you know, and that's what they did. They became whatever it was going to be, and they did that for the whole life. So if you're not sure, okay, don't worry about that. As Leanne says, find out what you do like. Go in there and see what it's all about and try it. Don't doubt your decision. Make the right decision. And then the only way you can do that is by researching and going out and trying things and see what you want
and
to
talking to people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, there are different universities that don't expect you to pick your major. Like, I think the US is very big on this. You know, in the first year or two, you can take subjects and see what you like, and then actually decide what you want to do. And I think that is a very good approach, because it's very, there's a lot of pressure on young kids to decide what they want to be, and they haven't been exposed to everything. So they still don't know what they like and what they don't like. So
that's very, very
don't be
important.
too hard on yourself. And I mean, there's always an ability to change. I don't think everything is set in stone.
Thank you so much, Leanne, for that, and team as well, and everyone. Wish we could talk more about this particular point, but in view of time, we have to cover the last question that I have from the audience here. So if you were to go back to the college or university time yourself, what would you have changed to maximize your college or university experience? Who'd like to go first?
For me, the answer was very clear.
Sorry, before you go on, can we take like a minute each, because I'm just conscious of time. Sorry for saying that.
Okay, I'll take 30 seconds.
All right.
To me, it was when I went to study in Australia, I had my sister with me at one point. I had my first cousins. I had friends that I knew from Amman. So I kept a majority of my time was spent with them, because that was my comfort zone. So I wish I stepped out. I wish I had more friends from different nationalities. I wish I experienced college life more. And that's why when the first question was asked, I stressed on enriching your life through experiencing things and stepping outside your comfort zone. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't change anything about my time in university. I had a great time, and I learned a lot. But you know what I learned most about was myself. You know, I learned that I have a lot of skills that I don't know about. I did that growth from being a young man who lived at home with mom and dad to being on my own. And I learned all about what that means. And I learned about teaching and the skills I needed to teach the subject I taught. So I did all that, but I think what I learned most was me. And I really appreciate what I did for me. Even if I made mistakes, I made a bunch of them. I learned from those mistakes and they became me. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I just make sure you reflect as an adult, which you are at this age, what you're like, and keep growing as a person. I mean, I wasn't expected to be a principal in Muscat. You know, that was not my goal. I ended up being principal and teaching in 8 countries. That was never my goal. So, you know, just keep the door open. Keep the door open. Take the experiences you get, the opportunities you get, and see where it takes you. You know, don't burn bridges, we say. You know, and I think that's what I did in university. I went through and I took opportunities and I enjoyed it, as well as remembered why I was there, which is learning to be a teacher. So I wouldn't change it.
Thank you, team. Yeah, Badr?
So I think if it's about changing one tiny thing, at least in my experience, usually curriculums or let's call them programs throughout the college life, you're given certain core classes that you must take in order to finish your degree. And there are other classes that are called electives, where you get to choose something out of a wide variety of classes. And unfortunately, probably bad peer pressure. The first couple of years in my college life, I was peer pressured to take easy classes with my friends to get an easy A. Although there were classes that I really hated, there were in subjects that I don't enjoy by any means. But it was the peer pressure. Let's take it. It's an easy A. Not much of work, and you can basically increase your GPA by taking this class. But I realized that I really hated those classes, and then in the last 2 years of my degree, I decided, you know what? I don't care what my friends are taking. I will pick my own electives.
Fantastic.
And for a computer science student, I ended up taking a class in tourism marketing, and that was so much fun. I still got an A, and it was not an easy class, but it was something I enjoyed. So I would highly emphasize on don't let peer pressure into making you do things or taking things that you do not like. And do what you enjoy, do what you like, do what you want to experience, not what someone else's experience, and live their experiences with them.
Thank you, Badr, for that. Yeah.
For me, it would be exploring your surroundings, whether you're in Amman or you're outside abroad. So I was blessed to study both locally as well as outside of Amman. And while I was outside, I didn't take the opportunity to visit the surrounding countries. Mind, while you're at university, this is the last time you're going to get holidays this long and the free time and the availability. And, you know, so take the opportunity, get to know the city you live in, the surrounding place. Tim had mentioned this earlier as well in the conversation, but an experience that if I were to go back to university, that I would try and do again.
Travel more, plan your breaks. But yes, Doctora, what do you think?
Yeah, after all this wonderful advice my fellow panelists just given, just one last advice I would say is try not to look back. So if you say what if, do not say what if. Think of the present, think of the future. That is what you can make a difference with, you know, and then general take home messages, you know, is just have the thirst to learn. Really, it's a golden opportunity for you to ask questions without being judged, without reservation. Be inquisitive, be curious, keep up to date with global issues, cultivate a support system to make it, you know, from your mentors, family, friends, and just avoid losing yourself in work and studies, and really, you know, take time to develop your outside interests, as was mentioned earlier. You know, it's you with your limitless potential in the present and the future that counts the most, I believe. So best of luck to all those out there.
Best of luck to everyone. Yes. Let's see. Do we have any question from the audience? Okay. That last question here. How do you convince a fresh graduate that obtaining a certificate does not mean she knows everything? Wow, what a question to finish this this webinar.
I'll go back.
This is actually coming from Geneva.
I think I'll go back to my answer to the previous question, which was what you get at the university is just the skill set. It's not the proof that you can practice the skill set. You just learn the knowledge. You know how to do it, but you never got to show that you can do it. So until and unless you start working for a company and you prove that the knowledge that you gained in university is possible to practice, is possible to execute, then only you can prove that you know everything, or at least know everything in your field. But if it's just theory from university without practicing it, without showing it in intangible manners, it remains in theory and knowledge in your brain and nothing beyond that.
But I mean, you can never know everything. That is something that everyone needs to understand. You can always learn from someone or something or an experience. Even the greatest of the greats still learn from people. So you need to be a bit more humble and listen, take what you can and what you agree with, and maybe not take what you don't agree with. But the attitude that I know everything won't serve you.
Yes, thank you, Layan, for that. Sorry, what's that, Aisha?
Damaging attitude to have, like that you know everything, because that just blocks everything else after that. You know, allow you to absorb what you need to absorb. So we always teach our medical students that you can even learn from the nurses, from the, you know, housekeeping staff, from anybody at any level. It doesn't matter, and it's no shame to learn from them. In fact, our nurses teach our medical students a lot more than they know at that level, just from experience. And so it's interesting. It's an interesting question.
Okay, well, so that was the last question. Thank you, Hilda, for that. There is another question here. What would you say is more important? We've already answered this one. The academics or the college life experience. We've already answered this one. Do we have any more? Would you like to add?
I just add to that. I think Bara mentioned, but there really is there's not a right wrong here. There's not one or the other. It's both. You've got to do the academics because that's what you're there for, but you've got to grow as a person, and that's the other side of it. So you need to do both. There's no one or the other in that one.
They complement each other.
Definitely complement each other. The academics
they complement each other.
And the living part of being in university, which is so important to grow as a person. You need to do the academics as well. You can't put one over the other at all.
And that's the time that you don't really have major responsibilities. So you're supervised, everything is supervised, you know, to some extent, indirect supervision, and you don't really have that much of responsibility. So it's an excellent time to explore as Tim said, and really take it really experience the experience as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Badar, did you want to say anything?
I think I've said my answer already. Yeah.
Okay, Layan, you wanted to add anything?
I think we discussed this question quite heavily. I thought we were, just as part of a general thing. If anyone is thinking of doing law, please feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to sit down and talk to you. And I'm sure my fellow panelists in their respective fields will be happy to do that as well.
I agree, Leanne. I would love to see some Omani teachers coming into my school, even if they just want to come and visit and see what the classes are like, because I would love to help the Omani teaching profession. So yes, I'd love to help.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for sharing your invaluable insights on the topic, so the subjects that we have talked about, and answering the questions, sharing your experiences. They're really fantastic and great. So maybe to wrap up, the key points that jotted down here is that college or university experience is a time in which one grows from childhood or from young adulthood to being a full adult, basically. And in this time, you learn about yourself more, you explore things, you learn new languages if you like, especially to be in the tourism field, or to be more international exposed. You learn about your personality, you learn about your goals, your passion, you learn about your aspiration more. Therefore, you need to ask more questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be shy to learn new things. Don't be shy to volunteer. Even if you are studying abroad, especially. And most importantly, what our panelists also mentioned is that don't be shy to make mistakes and don't feel bad about it. The most important thing is that you learn from your mistakes. You take these mistakes as opportunities for you to grow. And you are becoming independent when you are in college or university. Learn to cook, wash your clothes yourself. Definitely clean your room and make your bed and do all these things. Budget, manage your money, your time, your schedule. Keep time yourself and make sure that you balance your studies, your hard work at university with fun and playing, because you do need that, especially like Dr. Aisha mentioned, you need to have some time off from your hard work. So you don't allow the psychology, did you use psychology word? I don't know, Dr. Aisha, gets into you. So you need to prioritize, organize, plan ahead, prepare, use to-do lists, use applications that there are plenty of them, calendar application that will help you organize and manage your time and your work. Always keep time for fun, as they say. And only it's you who can define what fun is for you, not anybody else. Don't go through, or don't allow the peer pressure get into you and do things that you don't think are fun or right for you. You define what fun is, and travel, explore, and learn about other cultures. And in order to boost your CV, Sheikha advised you not to miss or try your best to get into internship, and so is Layan. Learn new languages, try to find out what are the top languages that are used in Oman for tourism and hospitality area, if you like to go into that field. Learn how to present, communicate with people, social skills, attend conferences, talks, read journals, webinars or what do you call that? And attend meetings. I don't know, this networks, they call it networks, yeah? Understand how the system works, you know, here in Oman or abroad, and try to learn the differences in the systems and what will work for Oman if you're coming back to work for Oman. What is it that's required from you to learn or get or attain in terms of certificate, professional certificates for you to work in Oman? Team emphasize on work ethics, أخلاقيات العمل, how to deal with other colleagues, and how to respect others. And also in IT sectors, remember what is good or is used today will not be there maybe in 4 to 5 or 10 years. So you need to keep yourself up to date in this particular area. How do you stay motivated? Remember your goal. Remember why you are there at the college or university, what you want to be, what you want to do after your studies, what motivates you internally and what motivates you externally. You need to know all of these things. Is it you want to, is this a good job, good salary that you want to get, or making your parents proud, or just serving your country, all of these things that will help you keep motivated. And finally, learn things outside your curriculum, extracurricular, they say. So it depends what you want to do. If you want to do your postgraduate directly after your undergraduate degree, or you want to do it after you get work experience, it all depends what to do. What do you want to do in your life? Like in the law field, if you want to teach or you want to research in the law field, then postgraduate will be good for you. Otherwise, get some internship and also work experience before you do any further studies. Finally, I did say finally, right? Advice for everybody, keep up your good work. Keep asking questions. Our panelists are here for you. If you like to contact them, talk to them, ask them questions, advice, they will be more than happy to talk to you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And thank you for our attendees for being with us. And thank you to Hala for hosting us on this webinar.
Thank
Back
you
to you,
very
Hala.
much. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, speakers. As some of our speakers had mentioned earlier, Layan, Tim, and some others, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to contact Limitless, and we will get you in touch with them, and so they can answer your questions. Or if you want to go and see the school, Our Planet, with Tim, that would be great as well. Yeah. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and please don't forget to like us on our social media platforms, Limitless Oman, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.